While most African countries live in poverty, holding onto their tradition and culture without any technical advances in most of the continent, the Bantu people are in the league of their own. Despite of living in an underprivileged land with lack of opportunities, women are forced to work on low-status careers and lower wages. Bantu women naturally have more muscle and bone mass, and the fat layer on the curves make them look even attractive to the opposite gender. Bantu women possess curvy structures in varying age, body weight, and height. In addition, Bantu women have more upper body fat than white women. These ethnic differences in body composition appear to be associated with genes that they received from their ancestors. Their curvy structures not only make them look sexier, but also the greater muscle and skeletal mass in Bantu black women compared to white women protects them from osteoporosis. Bantu women are just blessed with body fat distribution that's seen as socially desirable, and mostly they don't have medical conditions or lifestyle circumstances that make eating a balanced diet difficult. Their traditions and rituals are their great assets, and this is why they celebrate their holy events fully with traditional sweets and special dances. Women are encouraged to participate along with men. In southern Bantu region, some cultural dances are about women bending over and shaking their buttocks while moving around. They've been doing this particular dance before the Europeans showed up. Even when most of them embraced Christianity as their religion, they still danced it in holy church. Some of churches banned the dance because of its sexual nature. If you look at it the other way, it is indeed erotic. However, Bantu culture value traditional dances a lot, and it's a way of their expressions during holy events and a kind of art to them. The Bantu language is based on complex scripts. The classical African philosophy of Ubuntu takes its roots from the Bantu southern region of Africa. The Bantu people are found throughout sub-Saharan Africa, from Central Africa to Southern Africa and African Great Lakes. Depending on how language or dialect is defined, there are hundreds of different languages. While there is broad consensus that the Bantu-speaking peoples began in West Africa some 4,000 years ago, there is less consensus over the precise causes of and trajectory of their expansion. Foreign aid workers gave the label Bantu after the start of the Civil War in 1991. Domestically, Bantu people are called derogatory names because of their dark skin and thick curls. Bantu women are generally considered beautiful and sexy with thin, defined facial features and big lips. They possess beautiful, curvy bodies and are considered extremely attractive part of their race. Bantu people have big deserts, and one of them is Kalahari Desert. In the most isolated areas of the Kalahari, residents who are not impacted by mining or other industries reside in settlements with 200 to 5,000 inhabitants. The economic backbone of the region is cattle, which are maintained outside of villages or up to 50 kilometers away. Year-round cattle grazing is restricted to the area around wells and boreholes that are held by local government authorities, syndicates of cattle owners, or private persons. The women of Bantu are traditional in the sense that they like to stay in groups, and gathering for women are often sought after where women can enjoy, relax with other women. The men, on the other hand, are a different story. They usually don't partake in dances and are more closer to their ancestral African roots, but this can't really be generalized about ethnic groups, so take it with a pinch of salt. The Bantu migration from their origins in southern West Africa saw a gradual population movement sweep through the central, eastern, and southern parts of the continent, starting in the mid-2nd millennium BCE and finally ending before 1500 CE. With them, the Bantu brought new technologies and skills, such as cultivating high-yield crops and ironworking, which produced more efficient tools and weapons. Eventually, the Bantu dominated, with the exception of South Africa and the Namibian Desert, all of the African continent south of a line crossing from southern Nigeria to Kenya. In all, some 500 languages spoken today in that vast area are derived from the Proto-Bantu language. Although most historians would agree on the general occurrence of the Bantu migrations across Africa, the precise timings, motivations, routes, and consequences are all still being debated. The Bantu were agriculturalists who spoke various dialects of the Bantu language. Their heartland was the savanna and rainforest regions around the Niger River of southern West Africa, modern Nigeria, Cameroon, and Gabon. Using both stone and iron tools, they successfully grew crops such as millet, sorghum, dry rice, beans, oil palms, and melons. Although they did so at a subsistence level, that is, they grew only sufficient crops to meet their own needs. They had the technology to create iron from iron ore, but where this came from is not known, except that the three most likely possibles are: the knowledge was introduced by the Phoenicians in the north, the Egyptians or Kushites in the east, or it was acquired locally and independently. As the peoples the Bantu came across were still in the Stone Age in terms of weapons and technology, the iron weaponed migrants with their specialized warrior caste had little trouble imposing themselves wherever they went. Their superior technology also encouraged local peoples to accept Bantu leadership. Some groups did resist this wave of Bantu culture, such as the Pygmies who retreated to the depths of the Central Africa rainforests, or the groups of savanna hunter-gatherers. The San, who likewise retreated to the inhospitable and less accessible environment of the Kalahari Desert. Until very recently, the Bantu-speaking peoples were often divided into different clans, not around national federations, but independent groups from some hundreds to thousands of individuals. The smallest unit of the political organizational structure was the household, or krel, consisting of a man, woman or women, and their children, as well as other relatives living in the same household. The man was the head of the household and often had many wives, and was the family's primary representative. The household and close relations generally played an important role. Households that lived in the same valley or on the same hill in a village were also an organizational unit, managed by a sub-chief. The food acquisition of the Bantu was primarily limited to agriculture and hunting, where generally the women were responsible for agriculture and the men drew for the hunt. Except with the Sangha, and partially the Mpondo, fishing was of surprisingly little importance. All Bantu groups commonly had clear separation between the tasks of the women and those of the men. Among the Sotho, villages were sometimes comprised of as many as 200 people, but the Nguni were made up of a few extended families. Men served as artisans, hunters, and herdsmen. Women did the farming and housework, and sometimes organized their labor communally. Bantu history is interesting because they lived off as agriculturists in the early days. Their houses were built in a circle hut shape and livestock was mostly goats, sheep, etc. Bantu has a whopping 500 variations of its language, which are spread in the large part of African continent. They had no concept of toxic masculinity, as gender roles were already identified by the tough terrain of Africa wherever you migrated. Bantu people, historically speaking, has always been migrating to different places, and their primary work was goat herders. They were keen on keeping their values and culture alive, even though sometimes it's apparent that values are what's keeping them behind the global world. Please share your views about this video in the comment section. Do hit the notification bell for more interesting videos from around the world. We at Find Travel carry out a lot of research and talk to officials, residents, and travel guides to give you information that is true and accurate to help you find the best locations in the world where you can settle or visit. We are committed to providing you with the best possible information about pros and cons of different places around the world, so you can make an informed and sensible choice about where to reside or settle. Thanks for watching. Eat, sleep, travel, and stay calm.